Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Rough, Barry Ferguson, Alison McConnell here with me on this Monday. We're all live from Durham at Barnard Castle. We've all driven down there. We're really looking forward to it. What a day we're going to have down here. Don't touch the gates, Roughie, whatever you do. But nevertheless, what a day we're going to have. Anyway, it's good to have you all on board. Thank you very much. If you do indeed like our content, don't forget to like, share and follow us on Facebook, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube as well. So lots to talk about, and more importantly, this is D-Day for Anne Budge. I know you were thinking I was going to announce another name, Roughie, but Anne Budge is putting together this reconstruction proposal. Is she going to get it through? Is she going to get the 11-1 from the Premiership? Is she going to get the 32 out of 42 clubs she requires to somehow change their minds on reconstruction?
Yeah, I think it'll have to be a very, very interesting paper that she puts forward. I think top 8 number 1 will be finance. When we listen to a lot of the clubs, they're all frightened. If more clubs come in, they're going to lose a lot of money. That must be a priority. And I think after that, it's usually, is it going to be a short term or a long term? She just really, I know she's submitting it, but I would like to think if she gets more people on board, it's an ongoing thing. If she convinces the 6 that said no to 3, then she gives them a wee bit more time to have a really serious think about it, because I think we all realise now it's not all about Hearts, it's not all about Partick Thistle or Stranraer, it's about Scottish football. It's about where we go to save all the teams in the country. It's not just about 3 teams, it's about everybody now. So you would like to think that some of the people would make these decisions based on the whole of Scottish football rather than individual things.
At the start of the programme, I was joking, Barry, but I don't know about you, but I think Roughie is in a castle. Look, he's sitting in look at that throne. Look at that throne behind him, Barry.
I know. I was wondering that myself. Whereabouts you, Roughie?
Yeah,
you're meant to be self-isolating because of your age.
I've just went down to the local. I've just went down to the local Masonic Lodge just to pick up a few things.
I certainly didn't think that was the answer you were going to give me, but nevertheless, Roughie's here. Hi to Gary McGurn. Great to have you with us, Gary. Jim Cunningham as well, and of course George Mullen. It's great to have so many of the people who regularly support us. Douglas William, Don Clark as well, Marion Christie. Hi to all you guys. Adam Manson as well, and of course Alistair McDermott, Alex Mullen, to name but a few who have joined us on our Facebook Live today. Yeah, Barry, there is talk at this moment. I mean, there's all sorts of permutations about when the lower leagues are going to be able to start. There is even a suggestion in one of the papers that Neil Doncaster was looking at maybe just a one division of 16 teams starting this. But the fingers crossed for me is on Anne Budge convincing enough that it's worthy because of where we are. It's worthy of changing the structure, even if she has to put in a clause to say they'll all vote again on it next season.
Yeah, Peter, look, it's going to come down to, she's worked obviously really hard on coming up with this idea, and hopefully when she puts it to the clubs, as Roughie quite rightly mentioned, it's not just about Hearts and Partick Thistle and Stranraer, it's about the whole of Scottish football and making sure all these football clubs survive. So look, I'm hoping, I think it's time that we did change the leagues and think to go down a different route. I've been saying it for a number of years now, Peter, you're the same, and pretty most of the panel's the same. So hopefully what she brings to the table, the clubs are going to be happy with. And if not, just don't throw it out the window. If there's bits and bobs you need to change in it, then sit down and make sure it's done right. So hopefully they give her a bit of time, Peter, to get it through.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi to Gary McKean on our YouTube channel, John Bradley, Matthew Roberts, Jordan McGowan, Kenneth Young, and of course Patrick McFadden. There's lots of people, and Patrick is in Donegal, of all places. Patrick, great to have you with us. Danny, Mark Dolman as well, Ray Finkel as well. And of course, Ray Finkel has said, hope Alison is okay after the stick she got for the Brendan Rodgers piece the other day there. Alison, pray tell, what happened? Have you been getting pelters?
I've just put my phone back on. I had to put my phone off on Saturday. No, I wrote a column on Saturday for the Herald that, let's just say, wasn't unanimously accepted. I wrote a piece discussing the reaction to Celtic's tweet during the week. They carried a bit of an interview from Brendan congratulating them on 9 in a row, and some of the replies to it were fairly nuclear, so I thought I'd go in with a call of my own so I could have my own nuclear replies for 48 hours. But if it was a dip in the toe into how he might be received, should they go on and win a 10th and invite him back, I think there was a fairly significant groundswell of opinion that would suggest that people just are not having it.
Alison, time is a great healer. That is all I can
Apparently
say.
not.
Although when you judge the mood of the nation at the moment, I think they're begging for blood for everyone. Anyway, Alison, what do you make of the Anne Budge proposals? And off the back of that, Alison, if I could add a little bit on there, is quite simply we're now in a situation where there's people talking about if they are voting for it. Ayr United's Lachlan Cameron says he's not going to vote for 14 teams in the Premiership. And we're also looking at possibly, if the football does come back, delaying Old Firm games until 2021. That's to allow fans to watch them inside the ground.
Yeah, to go back to your first point, I think it's a fabulous talking point. I think there's plenty of intrigue there. There's interest in it. I think there would definitely be scope for changing things and reconstruction. However, I'd be amazed if it goes any further than a talking point just now. I just don't think there's enough weight to carry it through. I think it'll be given some discussion, but I just don't see that it'll come to fruition. On the latter point of playing Old Firm games next season, so that you can get 4 in, I can see the reasons why you would want to do it. But again, I'm not entirely sure that they will get there. I think you're always in danger of a second wave coming in the winter, which might bring us back to a second lockdown. I'm not sure. I would suggest that even going into next year, you might still have some kind of social distancing going on. I don't know if it's just the change in psyche over the last 2 months or not, but I find it almost impossible now to imagine sitting in a stadium with 60,000 other people or 50,000 other people. I think until you've got a vaccine, I'm not sure those days ever come back.
I'm dying to know, Barry, how people go to press conferences. That's our big dilemma, because you always wanted to go and get the manager and the players' thoughts on the games coming up and maybe burning issues. I wonder if it's going to be some kind of video conference call.
Yeah, Peter, I think it'll need to go down that route. And do you know, you had mentioned, I think it was last Wednesday's show, Peter, that you were saying that you don't think there's going to be any football, certainly at lower league, until January. And I was a wee bit taken aback with that, but see, to be honest with you, the more I think about it, the more I speak to people, I don't think we're going to get any football, certainly at Championship down, until the turn of the year at least. And in terms of the Premier League, I think they will get back up and running, but as you says, it will be behind closed doors.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Barry. There's a wee bit of thought goes into this programme. You know, every now and then we come out with a few nuggets that are ahead of the curve.
Yeah, Peter, I will say look, the more I think about it, as you mentioned, that there is no way that the part-time teams could go back. A lot of players out of contract, some running with 3-4 players, Peter, some running with more than that, and obviously on furlough, but these teams can't go back without crowds, Peter, and people coming through the gates and people at hospitality suites. They can't. There is no way they could survive.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct on that. Michael Malone says, I watched the German games, very boring without fans. Michael's on YouTube. Subscribing to our YouTube channel is what we asked you to do. Thanks, Michael, for that. And Jim Black says, Brendan has been liquidated in our eyes. So clearly he's tapping into exactly what Alison was mentioning. And Patrick McFadden says, thanks for the mention, Peter. When are you coming back to Donegal? Well, I'm going to come back there with Barry. We're taking him back over there. Roughie, that would be... Roughie, what a trip that would be, eh? Can you imagine just opening the door? That would be sensational. Mickey says...
I'll need my tin hat for that.
Yeah, glad you've narrowed it down to a tin hat. Anyway, apart from that, Paul Baird says, hello from Kilrea. Where's Kilrea? Where's Kilrea? Anybody?
No, not for me.
No, I'll need to look that one up. Not that it's not a good place, just clarifying that for Roughie. Lots of people giving their thoughts on Scottish football at the moment. And, of course, another couple of things that caught my eye. And just on the point that Barry raised there, Alison, suddenly, as we highlighted last week with Dunfermline, I said it was only going to be the tip of the iceberg. Clubs are starting to offload their players, and you only have to look at Ross County now. I think there's a lot of players are going to be looking for clubs in the summer. This is what I call the second wave of bad news in this next month.
Absolutely. I think the numbers released from Dunfermline were staggering. I think it was a very sobering read over the weekend, and I think there'll be a few clubs who come into this category. The problem is there are so few options now for players who are released. Where do you go? And what's the reality of the situation? For me, it means there'll be players just dropping out of the game. Unfortunately, I think the sheer fact that you have no answer to what's coming, there's no real clarity over what comes next and over when you're going to have fans back into games, when you're going to resume games. It makes it almost impossible for clubs to sign anyone, particularly at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. And my heart goes out to so many of the footballers who do not earn fortunes and have to look for another career as well as football. And that's what's facing some people who you would think would be half decent footballers as well, Barry, because, they're not everybody, can offer them full-time or even part-time football. That's the tragedy here.
No, Peter, I think you're bang on there. Releasing 17, the day after that, releasing 16, that's 33 players, Peter. It's a hell of a lot of players. And I worry about these guys because, as I said, look, they're like everybody else. They have got bills to pay, families to feed, but you're going to see a hell of a lot of football players out the game. And the worry is, people say they might need to go and look for another job elsewhere. There's not many jobs out there, Peter, either, apart when they play football, but these guys might not have anything behind them in terms of like an apprenticeship, whether they done it younger or they went to college when they were younger as an apprentice. So it's worrying times, Peter, and this is only the start of it. I think in the coming days we're going to see hundreds of footballers looking for new jobs.
Yeah, thanks to Davy Boy, who says Kilrea is in the county of Londonderry. So thank you for that. I didn't know that. I am advised, well and truly. Roughie, if it all goes pear-shaped here, I'm going to go for the job of Chief Advisor to the Prime Minister. It's bound to come up at some stage, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'll back you 100%.
Can you imagine?
Can I be an advisor?
Yeah, can you imagine the two of us advising the government on how to conduct their business properly? That would be magnificent. And I hear, the other thing I was going to say to you guys is I hear, and I didn't know this, but I'm certainly going to be tuning in because, apparently Tam McManus runs a disco at the weekend. I didn't mind people taking up jobs, but I mean, Roughie, can you shed light in this? McManus is actually running a disco where we can all join in with him and his wife.
Yeah, I think anybody who read the papers at the weekend will see that Tam and his wife, I think his wife was a DJ and had her own career before she left her modelling, but certainly, the pictures every Saturday night, I think they give a service, a disco service to a lot of people, and I think far and wide, just like we are as well. But he kept that one pretty quiet, you know. But it'll be interesting to see what he says when he comes on. Because certainly it's out in the open now with his Hawaiian shirt on and everything. So you wouldn't put it past him anyway.
I don't know about you, Barry, but I cannot wait for this Saturday when we all tune in and there he is in the middle of the floor with his wife saying, "Hi, everybody. Welcome to my house."
I'm looking forward to that because we were actually... he had mentioned he's been busy the last few Saturdays and I've been wondering what he's been up to. So obviously we know what he's up to now. So I'll be tuning in on Saturday. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, can I just mention to everybody and please forgive me for this because I really have to emphasise we are a football channel, and I know that no sooner has somebody mentioned Korea is in Londonderry, somebody said no, it's in Derry. Please understand this is a football channel and I really don't want to go down that road. So please do not poison our feed on Facebook or YouTube with the breakdown of the area, because it's something that we neither want to get involved in or indulge in. I can see it all unfolding before my very eyes on this programme. So on that basis, it's just nice that somebody from Korea is tuning in. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, share and follow us. We are all God's people, and the great thing about this programme is we love football fans from every quarter. No matter who you support, we embrace you. We try and cover as many teams as possible. We've gone across the Ross County situation, the Dunfermline situation, players who will be looking for jobs, which is going to be heartbreaking over the course of the summer. And suddenly, Dave Cormack says he wants just one governing body, never mind the SFA and the SPFL. I don't think one governing body is a good idea, Roughie, because that means that all the fans only get to hate one organisation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's a big building. It's been muted on numerous occasions that they should join forces. Inside, I honestly don't know how that would work, Peter. Obviously, you have everybody on different boards, and every time we hear about trouble, at any of these organisations, it's the boards that are calling it, all the different kind of boards. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's not the first time it's been brought up. It's certainly a big enough venue for them to come together. So maybe that is the case. Maybe that's the way we should go.
Yeah, Ali, I was just being slightly facetious there with the whole situation. Lachlan Cameron did suggest that, look at Roughie looking there, somebody's clearly bringing him tea and a biscuit. I don't know if you've noticed that, by the way. I can always tell when he's not concentrating on the programme. Look at it, you're waiting for tea, aren't you? Somebody's bringing you something, aren't they?
No, certainly not. No, I have my I have my glass of orange here. I have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and vodka. Ali, just on that point, Lachlan Cameron said, he was looking for some kind of, I can't remember the exact phrasing he used on it, but it was a commissioner, someone who deals with the collective for all and takes control of gaining deals for the whole of the league, for all of the clubs, and drives that forward.
I think it's a very sensible suggestion. I think what you've seen over the last few months is a lack of direction and a lack of leadership. We went some weeks without hearing from anyone from the SPFL, and the manner in which I think the vote was conducted is still causing some ripples of controversy. I think there's definitely merit in suggesting that there is someone as a figurehead and someone that you can see as a very visible sign of authority of the governing body, and someone to make decisions and someone to lead. And I think everyone coming under the one umbrella. I know it's been said many times before, but again, I think there's so much common sense that can come into it. Even if you had to have one governing body divided into subdivisions to look after certain leagues and competitions, but I think it would be nice to have one body together rather than the separate entities that we've come to get used to.
Yeah, a big hi to Joe Shannon, who watches the show on a regular basis. Joe, thank you very much for following us. The football family is growing on this programme, and I have to say, since we've gone into this new format, the figures have gone through the roof. Thank you to YouTube and Facebook, and we are going to go across a number of platforms in the forthcoming weeks, across Instagram and, of course, Periscope, which will bring us to lots of Twitter fans as well. So the programme is expanding. We're delighted that you are sticking by us and telling your friends as well, sharing the feed. So Joe Shannon, just one of many, and lots of people just wondering, Roughie, you've obviously put the cat among the pigeons here. Joe and Gary and lots of other people are saying, Roughie looks as if he's just gone mental in the Antiques Roadshow, spotted something, bought it, and stuck it in his house. You see that's what happens, Roughie. People look at your background, they become accustomed to you.
Well, they're not too far away. I mean, I do like the Antiques Roadshow. There's no doubt about that. I love seeing things that you can buy, and some people sell on for a lot of money. But no, this particular piece of furniture isn't mine, and I can't go into why it isn't mine. But I think it's quite nice, actually. I think it was actually a relative who died and passed it on. Let me put it that way.
Okay, I don't know about you, Ali, but I think we should call for a full investigation into this. I don't want to kind of follow a suit on a larger scale, but this is a disgrace. That background, Barry. And the other thing, I don't know about you guys, but because of the nature of you trying to watch everything, The Last Dance was the best documentary I've ever seen, and then not I've ever seen. That's one of the best. But then, Barry, I'm just now gorging on these home programs where somebody goes in, and does up a house and then see if they can get lots of money for it. I don't know about you. I love looking into people. And there's another thing on MTV, Barry, which is it's called MTV Cribs. They used to do it in the 90s. Where you used to get to look at footballers and movie stars' luxurious homes. I love all that because, as you know yourself, money can't buy class or fashion sense.
No, I'm the same, Peter. I've watched that many box sets. Now I'm into gardening programs, so I'm getting a couple of tips, watching a few gardeners do their tricks round about the garden, and I'm trying it out in a couple of things out in the garden, cutting trees, feeding the grass, watering the plants, basic stuff.
Changed, by the way, you've changed. And of course, hey, there's no, you never get, that's the other good thing about it, Roughie, you never get an insight into Barry's house because it's just that plain background behind him. We're getting no sneak previews, whereas Ali, everybody now is trying to work out what type of book she reads behind her because we're looking at it every day now. It's great.
It's the only place I can come in the house where I know I'm not going to be disturbed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the same, Alison. I'm the same.
Oh, is that right? Oh.
Listen, you've been in my house. I couldn't get rid of these.
Yeah, but the only problem, the last time we were in your house, two of us were absolutely blotto, so we couldn't remember anything about it, to be honest with you. And by the time you'd opened the third bottle of wine, I was just dying for a taxi to come and save us. Anyway, talking of which, Barry, Hagi, deal happening soon. I think it's going to be a good signing for Rangers, Hagi. I think he's got tremendous potential. I like him because he can play off either foot. But I'm raising, and I'm not going to get bogged down in the price because honestly, I think lots of clubs are guilty of just talking a lot of nonsense with fees. I'd be amazed if Rangers were paying $5 million in the current climate for a 21-year-old.
Yeah, Peter, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near £5 million. I would probably look nearer the £2 million or just below that. Certainly, I agree with what you've just said there. Certainly got potential. He showed flashes when he was here. As you say, he's still not got that consistency level, Peter, because he's only come up in 21. It was an eye-opener coming over to Glasgow. You know what it's like when you play with Rangers or Celtic. You're under severe pressure, and he's probably never felt that before. But I do think he's certainly got potential, and I don't think it's going to be anywhere near that transfer fee as you mentioned. I think nearer the £2 million mark, I would take him. There's no doubt about that. I think in the future he could be a a big player, but he just needs to show it week in, week out. Another thing, Peter, I'm not sure where his best position is, whether it's in the right or the left or just behind the forward. So he'll need to make a decision, or the manager will need to make a decision what position suits him best. But if I was Rangers, I would certainly go and take him at the kind of £2 million mark.
Yeah, Alison, I think this is, as well as being a critical season for Rangers, I think they need to start buying a higher calibre of player again. I think he is one of them. But I think, I just totally and utterly disregard any suggestion of 5 million. What I would say is, yes, get him, but he's got bigger fish to fry, Steven Gerrard, and getting a higher calibre player to try and win this league this season.
Absolutely. I think when I appreciate what you're saying about the figures that have been mentioned so far. I think if you are spending that kind of money, what you need to be spending it on is a player who comes in and changes the trajectory of what the domestic scene has been for the last few years. Like, if you're spending up to £5 million, you want a player who can come in and really be influential in trying to win you the title. I think that's exactly what Rangers need now. You don't need squad players, or you don't need players coming in and needing time to acclimatise to the surroundings and the demands of the club. And I think part of that means that you have to sign experience. I know every signing is a gamble, but I think if you're prepared to sign guys who have been over the course before and who have got a bit of experience, and crucially, I think if you're coming to Glasgow in a season where your rivals are going for an historic 10th title in a row, you need guys with the proper mentality to come in. You need to have a bit of character. I don't know how much money that costs, and I don't know whether Rangers are in a position to do it or not. Time will tell over the course of the next few months, but I think certainly if you're talking about spending £5 million on one player, you'd really want to see a return.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim Cunningham says, I don't think any club will be paying out big transfer fees and giving out long contracts anytime soon. Jim is a regular watcher on the programme and very sensible indeed, Roughie. I think Jim has hit the nail on the head with this one. The one thing I would say, and I think I heard it over the weekend, I know Barry's been, very positive about Douglas Park and the money that he's prepared to put in. But again, over the weekend, I read the fact that, Rangers will fill that gap of the 10 million that they needed before the end of the season. This is off the back of the accounts, which had a £11.3 million loss. I think, Roughie, they're going to need, never mind the investment to get them to the season, they're going to need somebody who comes in, whether it's Hong Kong or elsewhere, who says, okay, we'll fill the ongoing needs. That's the first thing. But secondary to that, I think they need a whack of a kitty for Steven Gerrard to make a right go of this. Never mind Ian as Hagi. I think they're going to need something else, something special as far as investment's concerned.
Yeah, I think Steven Gerrard will know that himself. You know that he would have liked a big pot. This crisis definitely hasn't helped any clubs who were thinking about bringing in a lot of money and spending a lot of money on really, really good players. There will be investment will come in. I think that's already. We don't know what it's going to be. There'll obviously be the season ticket money as well, but that will be hit to a certain extent. I think the biggest hit for Rangers is going to be the centre forward. I think we were talking about 15, 20 million coming in, possibly at the end of the season. That's no longer on the table now. I don't think there's any clubs can afford to pay that kind of money. So that'll be another hit to Rangers as well, because I think they definitely wanted him off the books. I think they wanted to bring some money in and make a profit on a good profit and what they paid out. But with the present climate as well, that'll be a back burner as well. I'm sure the player himself, will, if his agent is worth his salt, will be told trying to get him somewhere. But it won't be anywhere near the money that Rangers were definitely looking for before the crisis had started.
Yeah, listen, you'll never believe this, but over the weekend, I always like to, I can tell you, Ebu Kouassi has completed a £1.3 million move to Genk. Well, Alison, there's an offloading of someone that didn't work out at Celtic.
Absolutely. I think it's the best for everyone concerned. I think he can go and try and get some game time, and it just didn't, for whatever reasons, it just never really worked out for him at Celtic, and I don't think the landscape would have changed even if we were to have hung around for another season. I think it makes sense for the boy himself to go now and try and get games, and for Celtic to cut ties and just accept that sometimes it works out for you and sometimes it doesn't. I think the vast majority of their signings have been decent. over the piece, but sometimes everyone's a gamble. Sometimes you bring a guy in and it just doesn't work. I think we saw him very, very sporadically, and it makes sense. I don't think it'll be a huge surprise to anyone for him to be going elsewhere.
And Barry, you as a manager will know this. It's a great spin, especially I always laugh when Celtic and Rangers sign anybody, certainly at the top level. You know, you start to get these back pages of he's a fantastic player, and they get somebody who starts raving about him from playing in a previous league. You know, for every Virgil van Dijk, I could rhyme off 20 players who were just completely and utterly rank rotten.
Yeah, you always get, Peter, you never get your signings 100% bang on. There's always that 20-30% that don't work out. I've seen it with my own eyes, Peter. I've seen a lot of good players come over and you look them up and they've played at decent clubs and at decent levels, but it's a total different ballgame playing in the west of Scotland with either the old firm teams. Honestly, they get a shock to the system. It's how they handle it, and some players handle it great, other players don't enjoy it at all.
Yeah, can I ask you this, and forgive me for this, I always like to throw you the odd curveball. Was there a player that came in at Rangers that you thought, he could be good, and then after 3 weeks you thought, he's mince?
No mince. I don't think that's the right that word. I thought. No, I'm
only winding you up.
Do you remember the boy Jeremy Clement? Paul Le Guen brought him in for.
Oh yeah,
remember him, the central midfielder.
Yeah, I vaguely remember him. Yeah,
left-footed. He was technically very good. He was okay in some of the games, but it just never worked for him. But there's Peter, I could rhyme off at 20-30 players that are been good players, but it's a different ball game when you go out and there's 50,000 fans. When you're not playing well after 15 or 20 minutes, they're right down your throat, demanding and shouting at you. So some of them enjoy it and some don't.
I did raise a smile today when I read the article, Barry, that Bert Konteman didn't want to go to Spain because he couldn't speak the language. Real Madrid.
I seen that. Here, listen, see Big Bert. I know a lot of people didn't.
I thought he was a gentleman.
Player,
he's a lovely guy.
Great guy. He was a lovely guy, and he was decent enough. Look, he scored an absolute peach. I think you remember it in the semi-final against Celtic when he hit it. I couldn't believe my eyes when it flew in. But
did you play in that game?
Gentleman. Yeah, I played in it. Yep.
Yeah,
played in the game.
It was a raker of a hit from him, Roughie. Do you remember it? With his right foot. Oh, clearly you don't remember.
I think it was Hampden. Yeah, I think it was at Hampden, was it not?
Yeah, it was actually.
The only thing, when anybody mentions his name, the only thing I remember is his large-sized conch in his nose. You know.
I thought we were off air there. Ali, I thought we were going off air. I don't know about you. I thought there was going to be I thought there was a government investigation coming, Ali. The blood dripped from your face.
Yeah. Barry, he must have taken some stick for that nose. In the dressing room, he must have taken some stick.
Roughie, we're trying to talk about how he was as a footballer, man. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
That's
absolute gentleman, Peter.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Absolute gentleman, that guy. Great guy.
And with that in mind, I was going to say to you guys, as Ali tries to keep as straight a face as possible, I was going to say to you guys that over the weekend, there's all sorts of, we look back in history because that's what we're doing at the moment. 25th of May is a very, very special date, of course. And later on, if you're a fan of Celtic's Lisbon Lions, then our one-to-one guest is Jim Craig, the Lisbon Lion, who takes us on a little trip down memory lane with some great stories. You've heard a few of them before, but I tried to come up with something a little bit different in questions that I was asking him. So Jim Craig is on, and there's a little feature before it that I think if you're a Celtic fan, you will enjoy. And sometimes people get a little bit ratty with us, and they've got a small memory. We try and feature as many of these as possible just to take us down a little trip down memory lane. And the 1972 European Cup Winners' Cup final, the the memory of that and the date was on Sunday, so I didn't want to let it go without paying tribute to the Barcelona Bears. Well, apart from the pitch invasion at the end, the actual game itself, Rangers, Barry, were absolutely cruising in that game.
Yeah, I've only seen the highlights. I wasn't born at that stage, but there's a lot of things inside Ibrox regarding that 1972 game, and I've read up a few things. As you says, it was a great victory, but the only thing that ruined it was obviously the pitch invasion at the end.
Yeah, it's one of those days, Roughie. I mean, when you go back to '67, Celtic were in the final, Rangers were in the Cup Winners' Cup final, and of course Dunfermline were also in the Fairs Cup as well as Kilmarnock. Scottish football was really strong late '60s, well, right throughout the '60s. And then in the 70s, but this 72 side, Rob, you listen to this. McCloy, Jardine, Matheson, Johnston and Gregg, McLean, Smith, McDonald, Colin Steen and Willie Johnston. I mean, a right good side. And even Derek Parlane, I think, was on the bench. And this is a side that had defeated Bayern Munich, who had about 7 or 8 of their World Cup winning squad in there.
Yeah, you're right. And I think one of the things they had to deal with is I think Big Derek had to go back to centre-half. I think somebody who was the centre half
Jackson.
Book? Colin Jackson got injured, so Colin talks about that, tragedy of missing that game. But I think the biggest thing for the Rangers players were the same as the Celtic players, not being able to be on the park to get your trophy and get your medal. If you win something like that, that's the biggest part of your career. And unfortunately, the supporters come on the park. But to get handed your medal in the dressing room must take away a bit of the thrill of actually winning the tournament. But you're right, some great players playing at the top of their game. Colin Steen, scoring goals for fun, and international level as well. Sandy Jardine, obviously, there. And Big Derek was immense back at centre-half.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to think about it, but DJ and I have talked about it on many, many occasions. He scored the winner in the League Cup final at 16, Barry, and then he's in the European Cup Winners' Cup final. He could only have been about 18 years of age, maybe 19 at a push. And he plays centre-half, and Dave Smith, who's as calm as you like, just talks him through the entire game, and he wins himself a European medal, and he's part of history.
Yeah, Peter, listen, he's obviously a striker to trade, but he can go back. It tells you how good a player he was. He could go back, play at centre-half, and as I say, you don't realise you get to meet all these guys when you're coming through, and I was always one when I met them, always went back and looked on the internet to see how good they really were, and Derek Johnson certainly was a top Rangers player. There's no doubt about that.
He actually could play, Barry, centre-half, midfield. He played midfield for Rangers at one point, and striker. And I think, certainly for me, and I think a lot of Rangers fans of a vintage know how good Derek was. He could hold the ball up, Roughie. He could bring other people into play, score with the head, and good feet as well.
Yeah, tremendous header of the ball, and a lot of people still to this day debate why he wasn't in the Scotland team in Argentina. Obviously, my reasoning to that would be George Jordan was at the top of his game, but certainly Derek was certainly at the top of his game there as a centre forward. And a lot of Scottish people really couldn't get around their head why he wasn't part of that team at any stages. And then if you remember, he scored an absolutely amazing header against Ireland on the Wednesday night before we played England. I think it was for about 18 yards, the header, and it was an absolute bullet into the top corner of the net. A tremendous header of the ball. And that's why when you played against Rangers with Davy Cooper in the wing and Derek in the middle, you knew the supply was going to find him. and the
Yeah, I think it was Wales. I hate to correct Roughie on Derek scoring that goal. It was an absolute belter of a header against Wales. But when he gets back, I'll leather him and just correct him. And as is my want, Barry, from time to time with him, because why let the facts get in the way of a good story from Roughie? To be perfectly honest. Anyway, the 1972 Rangers Cup Winners' Cup side, well worthy of our memory on today's programme from the 24th. But we weren't on the Sunday, so I thought I'd put that in there. Jerry Neath was also the substitute goalkeeper, which Stephen Smith has highlighted, and I must actually just mention that to Roughie when he comes back as well. He's obviously the throne doesn't have Wi-Fi in it, so he can't get through to us. Are you back with us, Roughie?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
It was Derek's goal was against Wales.
Was it? Oh, I knew it was at Hampden. That's a start.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, Roughie, it's a minor technicality, but nevertheless, did you remember a guy called Jerry Neath?
A goalkeeper. Goalkeeper. He was one of the. Did Hal Stewart bring him in along with Sorensen? And I know Jerry Neath was not the tallest goalkeeper in the world, but certainly very good.
Yeah. Well, there you are. Stephen Smith mentioned that. Ali, nothing worse. I remember John Gregg saying to me, nothing worse than, because of the furore that had gone on in the background. And remember, this was Spain ruled by General Franco. I mean, they thought it was okay just to batter you at any point with a truncheon over the top of the head. I think Greggy always sees the big disappointment is the way they handed the cup over and the medals. And Jim Craig mentioned they handed the medals over in a shoebox.
Yeah, I've spoken to Jim about that actually a few times. I worked with Jim for a while at the Celtic View, and he used to tell us that, and I think it did rob them. Obviously, there's a very iconic image of Billy going through the crowd and being led up to be given the trophy and hold it aloft. But I'm sure a lot of the guys in the dressing room would have loved the chance to share in that, and just it's a real moment of your career, isn't it? And for us in Scottish football now, these are the iconic moments of our game that when we were at the pinnacle, we'll never see that again. And I think it is a shame. I think if you've won a European trophy, it's almost unimaginable the way it's kind of soulless, the way then that you go away with your medal. I know Celtic were giving them in a shoebox, they were just passed around the dressing room. I think the same at Rangers. It's just you miss the fanfare and you miss the moment of jubilation. I think is the one that you're robbed from, but I think it would stay with you. I think you'd feel as though you'd been denied arguably the most enjoyable aspect of it all, because during the game you're so concentrated in what's going on around you that you probably don't get a chance to enjoy it until you know it's over and that you've been successful.
Worse than not being able to get the photograph, Roughie, because I can't remember seeing too many photographs of the Partick Thistle 1971 team with the League Cup. Please tell me that you got lots afterwards, did you?
Yeah, there certainly was. As you can imagine, there wasn't a big party planned. Obviously, a lot of people didn't think we were going to win that day, so it was probably a rushed. I think we went back to a hotel somewhere in Royal Exchange Square and had a right good night, as you would imagine. Yeah, but certainly in Firhill, there's certainly enough photographs dotted around the stadium that remember the players from that era.
Yeah, John Strelecki says Roughie thinks he's General Franco just sitting there on that throne at the moment. Another little thing I thought I'd draw to your attention. Alison, am I right in thinking you've got 3 kids?
Yes.
And strangely enough, I can only see 2 photographs of 2 of your kids behind you on that display in your bookshelf. So I think you better get your finger out, because your third is going to feel really left out.
There's a bigger case. You can only see a wee bit of it, trust me.
Okay, then. Roughie, these are the things that can upset family members. That's all I'm telling you.
Yeah, there's nothing worse. This is not a family one. There's nothing worse if somebody comes to your house at a party, whether it's a birthday or whatever, and they give you a present you don't particularly like, but you've got to take it and you put it up on the wall, and then about 2 or 3 months later they come visiting you and you forgot that you've taken it down and hidden it under the bed, and they go, where's that painting? Where's that painting I gave you? But
Yeah.
no, no, you've got to family photos up.
Ali, you're
Got to look back.
under pressure. Listen, I don't know
The
if you
women
remember
wouldn't
this.
let us.
Is that right?
The youngest wouldn't let there be a numerical disadvantage here.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm glad I'm on the side. Also, hi to everyone who is joining us on a regular basis on YouTube and subscribing to our channel. Thank you very much for all the followers we're getting on YouTube subscribing to us. All you have to do is click on it and you'll get with us Monday to Friday. We're live at 4 o'clock, and over and above that, on our Facebook channel, like, share and follow if you can, please. I don't know if you were there, Ali, but if you can excuse me, a number of us didn't quite get to Istanbul in 2005, which of course was the 25th of May. And the stories from there are incredible. But I think one of the sponsors in Scotland took all the journalists out on a night out to watch the European Cup final in 2005. And we really had a brilliant night. But I was absolutely gutted because, as you know, I'm a big Liverpool fan. I followed Dalglish to Liverpool and watched them with great interest. At 2005, at the halfway point in that game, Ali, I thought that Liverpool were dead and buried. I don't know if you can remember it.
They were down 3-0 and came back and it's to win it. But yeah, I do remember it. I wasn't out watching it. I was actually out with friends watching it. And I remember it again. I think it goes down as one of the really great European finals. It's just such a fantastic story. They were down and out. Like, you wouldn't have given them a hope of coming back for it. And then that inspired comeback. It was remarkable, really, a real glorious final.
Yeah, although Liverpool are European champions over the last couple of years, they've had some special memories in Europe. 2005 in Istanbul will always be remembered. I don't know about you, Roughie, but by the way, we are now trying non-stop to get Barry back. He's got the worst Wi-Fi and the...
there he is.
Oh, that's magnificent.
Listen, Peter, that's what happens when you stay out in the countryside. I can do.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
do you know what I'm going to do? I'll need to go to I could go to my parents, but they're obviously over 70 and I can't go out and see them.
Don't worry about it. We are going to get
that.
you. We're going to get you new technology, Barry. There's other stuff coming to you shortly in a bag. That's all I'm saying to you. Every day when we have a meeting, we think, how can we make it that we get a little gadget that enhances Barry so we can event? The only reason we're doing it, Alison, is not because, we want to see Barry in full colour. Basically, it's so that he can travel with the camera into the man cave so we can all see it. The amount of people are saying, get the Wi-Fi sorted so Barry can take us round his man cave. We can do our own crib with Barry Ferguson. It'll be fantastic. So David Mersey says, it's my anniversary today. Can I get a shout out to my wife, Lucy? David, absolutely you can, because that's the nature of this programme. We can see, we can react to everybody. And somebody posted a little point here, Roughie, I thought you would answer. It was Marksome66, because he says, can anyone tell me if Danny McGrain was injured for the 1978 World Cup? You were part of that squad. I know the answer, but I thought I'd let you answer it, Roughie.
Yeah, I think he was injured. He was injured with Celtic. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we certainly missed him. And I have to throw Gordon McQueen into the occasion as well. Gordon got injured in one of the home championship games. So we missed the two of them, most definitely. There's no doubt about that.
Barry, just in case you missed it there, we showed the tribute to Liverpool in Istanbul coming back from 3-0 down to win that. For me, it's just one of the most iconic European Cup finals. It's absolutely fantastic to watch it, the way they fought back. Started, of course, by the drive and determination of Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, Peter, it's up there with one of the best ever comebacks. I watched the game 3-0 down, you're thinking, this could be anything here, 5.
He's gone.
Yeah.
The team and the players that...
Go on, we've got you.
I think he's gone. Anyway,
No,
see that...
Still, I didn't see that game.
Oh, right,
No, he's still there. No, what were you saying about the players, Barry? We missed that little bit there. Yeah, he's gone. You're right, Roughie.
No, see that game. See that particular game that everybody talks about, the comeback, and everybody talks about Steven Gerrard. Now, I'm going to take a random guess at his name here, but if you get a chance to see it, the guy who won it for them was the goalkeeper. Jersey, give me his name, Jersey Dudek, something like that.
Dudek, yes.
Jersey Dudek. The save he had a minute before the final whistle went won the game for Liverpool. It was absolutely amazing.
Shevchenko, should have scored. He's a yard out, should have burst the net.
Yep.
And also, David Anderson says, Liverpool versus AC Milan was a nightmare. I bought everyone a drink thinking I was guaranteed £7,000. It turned into a nightmare. I was going to have a bet on Liverpool at half-time just in case my mates told me not to. £7,000. There is nothing worse than that, Barry, if you were sitting on a bet and then suddenly Liverpool produced the fight back.
Well, the guy must have been absolute gutted. But Peter, as I says, it was an incredible comeback. It just shows you the character and the mental toughness of that team, because it's easy. You just need to look at that AC Milan team, the players they had in there at that time. It would be easy just to say, right, do you know what? It's over. Let's not get beat any more than 3. But they have the character to come back and produce the performance they did was unbelievable.
Yeah, up to and Ray Finkel says, Peter, it happened to me when Arsenal were 4-0 up against Newcastle. There are many games where, the strange thing about it, we always say if you're going to gamble responsibly. But the spread betting and the betting midway through a game, Alison, would absolutely shred my nerves if I was a gambling man.
Neither. It's not something I've ever really been inclined to do, other than if there's a World Cup on and someone's organising a sweep in the office or something like that. But it's not really my bag at all. Although sharing a press box with a lot of the guys on a Saturday, that's all you hear is all my coupons burst, or I've got 2 minutes to go and I've lost X amount. But most of it goes over my head, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and been there, says John. Peter, Hibs' late goal to win the Scottish Cup took me for more than a few grand. Yeah, I think that done a few people in as well, to be honest with you. And Alan Gallagher says, get Barry a Wi-Fi booster. But Alan, we've tried everything.
I've already bought
Have you got a booster?
My wife bought 2 boosters. I'm sitting right beside the booster. I'm ready to boost it right out the window in a minute.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Barry. Listen, I'll tell you another thing. By the way, which I thought I was all over it in the weekend, Roughie. You and that rubbish that you started telling us all for the last 2 years. I don't even know why I allowed you to spin everybody that watches this program. Archie Gemmell never got a touch on it. I watched it at the weekend. It was a Johnny Rep clean 30-yarder.
Well,
you weren't positioned properly, or we could have been in the next round.
If Archie Gemmell tells me he touched it, that's good enough for me.
Honestly,
it was a super shot anyway.
Yeah, of course. Hey, I don't know if you watched it, Ali, but I watched the entire 90 minutes, and Barry was on the WhatsApp with us and Tam, and we gave Roughie dog's abuse watching that game. We gave him pelters. But to be fair, Roughie, boy, what a good team it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, fantastic side. Just top class. I think you posted the lineup against New Zealand. They were just amazing. Absolutely amazing. You know, the guys that were in that team. John Wark in particular. You know, I mean, we had players playing with Barcelona. You know, and plus all the European Cup winners, all the winners. It was just a fantastic sight, and again, goal difference.
You're talking about the Russia game, aren't you? You're talking about 82 now, aren't you?
Yeah, 82. Yeah, that game. Now you posted the lineup. You posted, I think, was against New Zealand.
Yeah,
but that game. Why does nobody ever talk about Willie Miller and Alan Hansen? I never hear about, well, them banging into each other. Nobody ever brings that up in any conversation.
Well, the only thing I remember about that moment when Willie Miller and Alan Hansen ran into each other is the only thing that was going through my head was, Roughie, take out Shengelia. Just when Shengelia comes towards you, Roughie, just you do him, because we can do without you in a red card, and they can do without Shengelia, you know?
Yeah.
Why didn't you do it, Roughie?
Did you not think I was thinking that as well? This could make you famous. Take him out.
Oh no, Roughie! You should have jumped on him. It's as simple as that. Do you know the great thing, Ali? When Roughie and the team were lining up, and of course, you know, I am his biggest fan. Away from anything we're playing competitively, but as far as a goalkeeper is concerned, he's in a lineup which basically has 10 players in that Scotland lineup in 1982. 10 players who either played in a Champions League final and won it, right? Or played in a UEFA Cup final and won it, or played in a Winners' Cup final and won it. I mean, it was unbelievable. 6 players had Champions League winners' medals in the lineup in the Scotland squad of 11 players, Ali. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, and then you've got to remember my League Cup medal, Ali, before you start saying, you know, I threw that into the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Billy Anderson says, those 2 goals against New Zealand cost us. I blame Roughie. I was there with my mates. Do you know what I always remember? Do you know what name I always remember, Roughie, from 1982? The boy
Rufus.
Winton Ruffer.
I thought it was Rufus. Ruffer. Centre forward.
How could you let that in? Unbelievable. Mark Xander Simpson says, is Barry away for a while? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I think we're going to let him go shortly. Listen, the great thing about the programme is we try and bring you as many special guests as possible, relevant to a certain day or indeed relevant to the news along the way, and we will continue to do that throughout the summer in lockdown to try and bring you as much of a football hit as possible until it comes back. It's as simple as that. So our special guest coming up next will probably mean that Alison will be able to go and join in with the family and get another photograph for behind those books. Roughie will be sitting on his throne with people just bringing him more vodka and fresh orange, and Barry will now, at this moment, I can tell you, be scalping the Wi-Fi booster with one of his flip-flops, because I'm about to tell you that the 25th of May is a very, very special day indeed in Scottish football for the Celtic fans, because that's the day that 11 men, all living within a 30-mile radius of each other, got together with Jock Stein and produced the most memorable performance. They were known as the Lisbon Lions. When we were kings, the cup was silver in cast. When we were kings, in days now long past. 11 men strong and bound by their laces, all fresh and determined with hope on their faces. 2505 followed by 6 and a 7, numbers associated with Lisbon's 11. Gladiators striding in blue striped with black, determined to slay with the sun on their back. But destiny beckons for the green and the white, Gemmell and Chalmers, both legends in flight. Can you name them by heart from memories past? Will you remember their image when they're dust in the grass? 1, 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9 and 10, right through to 11. Legends in time with Stein up in heaven, the Lions of Lisbon, champions 67. When we were kings, the cup was silver in cast. When we were kings, in days now long past. Well, I'm delighted to say our special guest on the programme is Lisbon Lion Jim Craig. Jim, 53 years on, I'm not sure one day defines your contribution on this earth, but it certainly defines 11 people and their contribution to so many Celtic fans around the world. Is that a fair comment?
Yes, it is, Peter, because it was the most iconic day in all our football careers, no matter what else we did. This was the day that has made all the difference. And to be recognised now, I mean, 53 years on is quite remarkable. But I went to the local Indian last night. Now, I've been going for about 5 or 6 months. And I went last night to pick up a carry-out. And he nearly embraced me, you know. If it hadn't been for the lockdown and the lack of contact, he says, "You never told me who you were." And I said, "Well, why would I tell you who I am? I'm in here to pick up a carry out, you know." And glad he asked me questions for about 20 minutes. And so it's really strange that after all these years, they're still being questioned about it.
Well, it means so much to so many generations. Granddads passing it down to their dads and their sons. I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to ask any question that hasn't been asked of you before. So when we look at that momentous day, everybody talks about Jock Stein and how good he was as the collective manager and maybe individually trying to get the best out of people. Did you ever have a moment with Stein where he had that, just you and him, and something that he offered you?
He was very good at that. But the one thing, not only on that day, but on other days as well, we'd be getting ready. We were quite a kind of confident bunch, I must be honest, Peter, to be quite honest. You know, if there was nerves, it wasn't really showing too much at the time. But on that particular day, as on other days as well, he would come over and go between, because we stripped in order of the team, you know, Simpson, Craig, Gemmell, so on and so on. And he would put his foot up on the little area, the seat between Gemmell and myself, and he would bend down and pretend to tie his lace, and he would say to the two of us, "Now, could I remind you, gentlemen, that you are defenders first and attackers second." And it was said in such a sort of passive tone of voice that it always recorded with the two of us, because the temptation sometimes is to, you know, come forward and maybe stay up the park. And that was just him reminding us that our first duty to every member of the team was to make sure that we defended well before we did any attacking. And that message always went through.
What's the best and the worst of being a Lisbon Lion for all these years?
Well, the best is the fact that, you know, you meet Celtic fans all over the world. And I've been lucky enough to travel all over the world. I mean, my oldest son is New Zealand, and I go and see him hopefully every couple of years or so. And even when I go out there, you know, I mean, a Celtic fan will stop me in the street for a chat. And I think to myself, this is ridiculous, you know, we're 12,000 miles away from where I played most of my career, you know, about 11,000 miles away from where the big day actually took place and everything, you know. But that's always quite remarkable. And so far, in my 77th year, I haven't really come across anything that I could say was a bad feature of being a Lisbon Lion. Now, what I would like, you know, I mean, the papers just now are full of Celtic doing 9 in a row and pushing for 10 and all the rest of it. But I think that, you know, we've got to do better in Europe, and I think it would be nice to see another Celtic team at some point pick up a European trophy, be it the big one, the Champions League, or its little version, you know, the UEFA Cup. I would really like to see another Celtic team do that.
I mean, that probably would be the wish of everyone. Certainly, it's a different landscape from the one you operated in, where there were so many great players in Scotland. Of course, on the night that Celtic were winning the European Cup, that year also had Rangers in the Cup Winners' Cup final in 1967.
Indeed.
So it gives you an indication of the strength of Scottish football. In a strange sort of way, many a manager will enter a building with the ghosts of the legends of the past. You just wonder if any generation will ever see the likes of it. It would need something incredibly special, a run like nobody'd ever witnessed to Seville, and then that one step further.
It would indeed. And can I go back a wee minute, because you mentioned Rangers doing well as well. Kilmarnock and Dunfermline also did well that year, getting to the latter stages of the Fairs Cup. So you can't ignore them as well. It was a very good time for Scottish football. No, I mean, Celtic have just got to do their best in Scottish football to get the chance, first of all, to get into Europe. And then once they're in Europe, they've got to raise their game again. That's all you can ask of a team, is raise your game to meet the standards required to get into the latter stages of the major competition, the Champions League or UEFA Cup, or Europa League as it is now, but that's all you have to do, Peter. It sounds easy enough to say it. It's much harder to do it, but you've got to try your best.
May 25th, 1967, 8 minutes gone. Let me take you now to 2020. Do you think VAR would have denied Inter Milan the penalty eventually?
Well, I've got to be honest and say it was one of the worst ever decisions in international football, and it was perpetrated by a short-sighted, imbecilic and cretinous member of the National Socialist Party of Germany. Apart from that, I've gone through my career thinking it was never a penalty. I must confess that at the time, nobody accused me of anything. The boss at half-time told me to get on with it. At time up, he said, I'm not so sure clearly, you did the right thing or not. I mean, if you watch it and try and have a neutral opinion, I ran across his path deliberately. He was a left-footed player going down the inside right channel. The chances are he was going to pull the ball back on his left foot, and that was my intention, was to make sure. I was not going to tackle because we're inside the box, so you never know. And I was just making sure that if he turned inside, he was going to bump into me. And, an indirect free kick is what normally would be the decision. And he went down like a sack of potatoes anyway, So,
yeah. Bertie says, and you were all special in your own way. You all contributed greatly to the makeup because, as you know, the Lisbon Lions, the sum of all parts made this special team. Bertie said to me one day that he reckoned there was 3 world-class players in the team, though, in Murdoch, Johnston and Gemmell. Would you go along with that?
Yes, I think those 3 had a wee bit something special about them. Jinky was a wonderful, wonderful talent. But the reason my hair is that colour was that I played behind him for 7 years as well, because he didn't really get himself involved in domestic duties, So that gave me a lot to do on the right-hand side. But no, he was a remarkable player. There are certain incidents that, even after all these years, come back to me. Bertie's singing going up the stairs, first of all. Just broke into the words of the Celtic song. When we arrived at the ground, Peter, I don't know if you know the story, but we were a bit late getting there because on the way to the stadium, somebody at the back of the bus suddenly realised that the crowd was all walking in a different direction to the way we were going. It shouted to the boss who was at the front of the bus, to tell him. The boss asked the driver, and the driver wasn't sure where the National Stadium was. So he turned the bus round and followed the crowds, and that was how we got there a wee bit late. Then Bertie started singing as we went up the steps onto the pitch. We could not believe the number of green and white hoops, jerseys that were around the stadium at that time, because in 1967, not many Scots travelled to the continent. It was in its infancy, that kind of holiday going to places like the Costa Brava and stuff like that. And to see so many people who had taken the trouble to make the trip was quite amazing. And the third thing was at that particular time, and if you just look at the pictures from the game, you see it quite clearly. Jimmy Johnson using pidgin English, pidgin Italian, whatever he was using. He was trying to say to Giacinto Facchetti, the left back for Inter, "Hey, big man, how about swapping jerseys after the game?" And Facchetti looked at him, what the hell is this? As you would, there are other more important things to think about at a time like that. And that was never resolved. I don't know whether Jinky ever did swap with Facchetti afterwards, but I met Giacinto at the 2002, I think it was, the European Cup final at Hampden, where Real Madrid played Bayer Leverkusen. And he was there, and I didn't. His English wasn't great. My Italian's non-existent. So we had a brief conversation, but I never mentioned that particular point. But those were the things that you remember,
Yeah, I meant to say, did you swap strips or did you keep yours?
No, I got mine whipped off me, and I haven't seen it since. I have my suspicions who it was. I've never pursued it. I reached the dressing room eventually. I lost my socks and boots as well, and I reached the dressing room holding on to my shorts and jockstrap, and just to preserve my modesty. And the shots are in Celtic Park, and the jersey, if anybody is looking out there and knows what it is, I would like it returned, please, because I'd like to present it to the club. And but in those days, the numbers were only on the shorts, so there's no number on the jersey. So
I've got to ask you this. Billy McNeill mentioned the greatest disappointment he had was not having the players around him when he lifted the European Cup. Eventually, was there a moment where you got a photograph in your strip with the European Cup as a personal memento? Did that happen?
No, not at all. When Billy was very reluctant to go, and when he realised that he had to go back out the dressing room again, he was quite reluctant to do so. And eventually, the police came and helped him get across the other side of the pitch to be presented with the cup. But when it came back in, we just had a bit of champagne that we filled it with, and there was no photographs taken, because you never think of that at the time, Then we went to a banquet afterwards, and I don't know if you knew this particular aspect of the amazing day, but we had to wait a long time before the Italians arrived. And then the banquet could go ahead. And at one point during the course of the meal, a UEFA official came up to Jock Stein and had a wee word with him and put in front of him what could only be described as a kind of elaborate shoebox. And when Jock opened it, the medals were inside. And he handed them round to the 11 players, which is a bit disappointing, really, when you've just won the European Cup, and when you see the way that the celebrations are handled nowadays, it's a real big moment. The fireworks going off, and all that kind of thing. That would have been nice to have as well,
Yeah. The other thing about it, and a lot of people will not realise it who are not of a certain age, I've looked back at that game and sat down with a pen and paper. It's one of the most one-sided Champions League finals of all time. I mean, the stats are outrageous.
Yeah. Well, people always say, they don't forget the penalty kick. Oh, you give away a penalty, and I say, well, it was actually a planned manoeuvre, because it meant that the Italians went back into defence and we got all the possession. Some of them accept it, but most realise that I'm only joking about it. But in actual fact, that is what happened. They were masters of the Catenaccio system, where you played quite a number of players in lines, one behind the other in defence. And that is what they did. It gave us possession. And we capitalised on it, and we did make chance after chance. And it was really ironic that when it came to the goal, it was the two fullbacks coming forward. First of all, me getting the ball from Murdoch, and I can walk you through it. As I went towards the goal, I don't know if people were expecting me to shoot, but my path to goal was blocked by a couple of players. And I was waiting I could see that there were also players blocked. I could see Gemma coming. I mean, he said to me after the game, "I thought you were never going to hear me shouting." I said, "Your granny and Curlick was hearing you shouting, Tam, I said, "I was very well aware you were coming." But I was waiting for another player who was in front of you to come towards me. to leave the space available. And eventually, when he did come, it looks as though I've taken a hell of a long time to do what is a simple pass, but I was waiting for that movement, and you'll see that when the guy did move out and come slightly towards me, I then made the pass to Gemmell, who had a free shot on goal. And I have mentioned in the past that it was such a beautiful pass that even his granny could have scored from it, but I don't. Let's not take that away from Big Tam, you know. It was a real fine shot.
Yeah, if there is such a thing as a downside to this whole celebration of the Lisbon Lions, it must surely be for you the fact that you don't get a chance to spend it with all your mates, because one by one, in a sad situation of life, we see them passing away.
Indeed, aye. There's only 5 of us left now, you know. John Clark, Bobby Lennox, Willie Wallace, Bertie Auld, and myself, you know. And there's never a day goes by without me thinking about the guys that aren't here, and I keep in touch with the ones that are here. We meet at Celtic Park for games and stuff, you know. And it's nice to see the photographs, and I've been really delighted today. I've had about half a dozen real dedicated Celtic fans who've sent me messages and photographs and all the rest of it, and my own family get in touch as well, of course. I've got my family are all scattered over the world. I've got one in New Zealand, one in Cardiff, one in Glasgow, one in Stirling, and one in London. And they've all been in touch as well, you know, just congratulating me on something that happened 53 years ago. So it really has been an amazing career to go through, both during the time I was there and afterwards as well. And I'm very grateful that I was part of that outfit.
Yeah, I'm wearing a T-shirt. My mate always
I see that. You spelled it correctly.
A tribute to Caesar. Yes, of course, because it's Cesar Romero. I mean, it's just something you can't.
Well, many people think it was Caesar because he was Julius Caesar, but no, it was Cesar Romero. And
sum him up. You know, what was Billy like to you?
An excellent centre half, very good in the air, very dominant. Didn't do a great deal of shouting on the pitch. Just would have the occasional word here and there, and that was enough. I mean, we were all pretty experienced players. We've been through the ranks and worked our way up. And sometimes the bawling and the shouting doesn't do much for you apart from getting you annoyed. But Billy would just do it nice and quietly. There are 2 things I've always been fascinated about him. One was my favourite memory of him. And that was we attended Mass one Sunday in Las Vegas. And when the collection came round, we all put money in the plate. And Billy suddenly exploded with a, God, I've put $100 bill in that plate. Because those of you who have been to America will realise that the money all looks the same, unless you have a very good look at it, you know. It's all green and it's all the same size, you know. And the rest of us, of course, thought it was absolutely fantastic and absolutely burst out laughing. You know? So that was my favourite memory of him. But the question that I never asked him, and I would love to have asked him, was that I would have said to him, Billy, you played about 790 games for Celtic, and you got ordered off twice against East Stirling and Bermuda. Now, what was it about those 2 that made you lose your cool and you ordered off? Because considering the number of big matches you played in, those 2 don't seem too likely matches to do something that would necessitate an ordering off, you know. But I never asked him.
One of the joys of it all, and it's probably the highest compliment I can pay you as an individual and the entire team. You know, my mother followed Celtic all over Europe, and she used to say to me, the great thing about the Lisbon Lions, they're all down to earth. She said they were one of us. And when I got the great opportunity to interview every one of you, that was the one thing that came over. It was like sitting down with your best mate for a pint, and I think that was the greatest quality that you all had, despite the fact that you all lived pretty close to each other, but you were of the people.
Well, why shouldn't you be? I mean, we're all brought up in the west of Scotland, with the exception of Bobby Lennox, you know, who was in Saltcoats, not all that far away, but the rest of us were all within about 10 miles of Celtic Park, you know, and so why wouldn't you be down to earth and just like everybody else? Most of us were Celtic fans from birth, although I got off to a kind of difficult start because Dad was a Hibby, born and brought up in Leith, you know, and his big Hibs team of the 1950s was doing really, really well. And I remember sitting at my grandparents' house, the Glasgow grandparents who lived in Drummoyne, part of Govan, and the discussions on football would be my grandfather and all my uncles very pro-Celtic and my dad very pro-Hibs. And it was quite interesting to, you know, see the contrast between the two. And, you know, Hibs that side, great sense, great forward line, you know, Johnson, you know, Smith, Johnson, Riley, Turnbull, Norman, the famous five. They cleared the way for Scottish football to do well in Europe, reached the semi-final of the European Cup in their first attempt at it, you know, and showed the way forward. So we've got a lot to thank them for. And, you know, we were the kind of next trailblazers. I mean, Rangers had reached the final in Champions League in 60-61. And then, you know, in our first attempt at the European Cup, everything went well for us, off to two relatively straightforward starts in Zurich and Nantes. And then we played the best team we met in the tournament in the quarter-final, Vojvodina, were, I think, by some distance, the best team we played. And we did well coming back from one down. And then Dukla Prague in the semi-final before we met Inter in the final. And there was another good story, Peter. At the time of just after we celebrated the centenary of Lisbon 3 years ago, there was a piece in the papers, and it said that this guy had, after Tommy Gemmell had given the pass back that was short against Vojvodina, and their players scored from it. We had another banquet. We always go to attend flaming banquets when nobody wants to attend banquets, you know. And you know, Tam was sitting there feeling a bit sorry for himself. And it said that Jim Craig, I saw fullback partner Jim Craig go across to commiserate with Tommy Gemmell, who was sitting in the corner nursing his drink. And of course, I went across, and typical footballer to footballer, I said to him, "You made the right balls of that, did you not?" And when I read what the reporter had written, I felt very embarrassed about the whole thing, you know. The footballers don't usually go around commiserating with each other, you know. They tend to be a bit more blunt.
Yeah. The banter with the guys was absolutely sensational. I mean, the dressing room must have been a magnificent place to be as well. If there was one moment, just to finish, that you could go back in a time machine in that Celtic side on that day, would it be, where would it be? Would it be the tunnel? Would it be something special that sticks in your head?
Well, the moment I would love to have seen, I didn't see because, and I'll go back a wee bit, because on the day, my mother couldn't bear to watch, so she went out to weed the garden with her hoe. And in the 8th minute of the game, my brother Dennis stuck his head out the window and said, "Mum, that's Celtic just had a penalty kick awarded against them." And she apparently said, "Oh dear God," and she started attacking the ground with the hoe. And a few seconds later, Dennis stuck his head out the window again and said, "By the way, Mum, it was Jim who gave away the penalty." And she apparently assaulted the garden. There was weeds and flowers flying all over the place. Now, that I would like to have seen, because what a memorable moment on that memorable day.
Yeah, absolutely. The good news is she's forgiven you. the garden, I'm sure, would have been in good nick. Listen, Jim, as ever, it's been an absolute joy. I don't think anyone associated with Celtic will ever forget the contribution, and nor should they. They will never tire of talking to you about those wonderful memories. From everyone in the football show, thank you for sharing that time with us. Yeah, Jim Craig, one of the Lisbon Lions, 25th of May, 1967. Celtic 2, Inter Milan 1, 53 years on. Hard to believe so many of them have passed away, but still a few that we get a chance every now and then to share some memories with. Great to have him as a guest, as ever, on the Football Show. Thanks to everyone for following us on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to our channel, of course, and we'll have special guests on, and of course our panellists, as ever, Roughie alongside me, Alison and Barry. Thank you to them for joining us today. Tomorrow, Hugh McDonald and Darren Jackson will be with me and Roughie. Hopefully you can join us if you're on Facebook. Don't forget to like, share and follow us if you can. And we've got more football news to discuss tomorrow as well. So from everyone here, thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.